It's January 7th, 2020, and it's a new year. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. This is a message for Stefan Molyneux, who I was listening to for a while, but now I'm just bored, and also there's other problems, which I will now outline. Stefan Molyneux advertises himself as basically a de facto advertises, in my view, pro-family, pro-life, and anti-feminism, somewhat generally pro-Trump, although unless Trump uses the military at all, then even to a limited extent, then he becomes hysterical. But in any case, recently I encountered, I've listened to Stefan Molyneux's chats about race and IQ, and things like that. But there's one thing that he never really emphasizes with all those chats, and that is that there is positive selection pressure now toward technical excellence. So regardless of a group's history, and regardless of a person's skin color history, there is selection pressure with all groups toward technical excellence. So there's hope. Evolution with selection gives us hope for the future, for all groups. Okay, all right. Now, the problem, Stefan has these social issue call-in shows, and during those shows, he, more often than not, based on my observations, rakes the callers over the coals. And really, Stefan was reportedly, reported by him, abused as a child by an abusive mother. And these social issue call-in shows are basically where Stefan appears to vent his anger at being abused at the callers. It's misdirected anger. And he can be abusive with people. And so during one of his social issue call-in shows, a man who married a woman from outside the, brought a woman in from outside the U.S. and married her, he basically raked the guy over the coals, and, completely discounted what all the normal reasons are for marriage. The reasons for marriage occur regardless of whether you're marrying someone within the U.S. or whether you're a U.S. man marrying someone from outside the U.S. The reasons for marriage are, pretty much the same. And, you have to be careful to not be taken advantage of and stuff like that. But there are people who do want to have a family and a marriage and a regular life with all the trappings of a marriage. So he raked the guy over the coals, and was completely abusive with the guy. Now there's that. Now, more recently, I heard a couple things on a more recent vidcast of Stefan. I heard him comment or basically complain about expressions of so-called interracial marriage, in film. And I thought, why would he care about that? Or why does interracial marriage give Stefan Molyneux an icky poo feeling? And that was a little bit disconcerting to me. Plus, we have the using his social issue call-in shows to basically have misdirected anger with regard to his abusive childhood, and the foreign bride situation, raking a guy over the coals just because he, didn't find good prospects here, and so he branched out, and they, discounted any reason for that, raked the guy over the coals raked the guy over the coals in an abusive way. But I also recently encountered Nick Fuentes. Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, in one of his vidcasts, was basically talking about how, in his view, people from one so-called race shouldn't marry people of another race, and probably particularly the so-called white race or Caucasian race, whatever. There's different Caucasian groups, so just because our skin color is pink doesn't mean we're all one group. Go to Europe and you'll find that out. Everybody has their own little group based on country of origin. So Nick Fuentes doesn't want people from one race marrying another race, so-called race. I guess if race is the word we use to say, different apparent heritages of humans within the same species, of course, but different subgroups. So there was that. And so that reminded me of Richard Spencer. Now, Richard Spencer also gets an icky poo feeling with regard to interracial marriage. So this encountering Nick Fuentes was kind of a wake-up call with regard to my, even occasional following of Stefan Molyneux's vids, following him less because they've devolved into just trash subjects, and trash headlines, trash social issue call-in. Basically, the guy is wallowing in the he's like that Jerry Springer. His shows are like a Jerry Springer, a call-in show, but with a Jerry Springer who had an abusive mother and who then abuses everyone else as a result. That's the kind of where Mr. Molyneux's show has devolved to. So it's boring and lame. But when you add to the mix this what's the term? Miscegenation? Something like that. Anyway, the word has been, not used that much since there were, we abolished the laws against interracial marriage in America. That term hasn't really been in use that much, but apparently it's making a comeback, or maybe it was never gone. Stefan Molyneux gets an icky poo feeling when he sees an interracial couple in a film, and he gets triggered when a man in America, even though Stefan is Canadian, Stefan gets irritated when a man in America, a country he's not even a part of, when a USA American man seeks to marry a woman from outside from the U.S. He gets triggered by that. So, you know, this past Christmas, I looked into the eyes of my children and I realized, you know, I love my children. And if you're really going to be pro-life, you should be pro-life. And Stefan Molyneux, in my view, is not really truly pro-life, you know? And also, as a side note, Stefan Molyneux, in my view, is not really pro-life. And in my view, as a side note, his social issue call-in shows are basically therapy for him, where he gets to unload the his negative emotions and apparent desire for revenge against his mother, against everyone who calls into his social issue call-in shows. So it's not that healthy of a thing, basically. Not that healthy of a man, not that healthy of an environment. He speaks with forked tongue with regard to being pro-life. So that's the situation, in my opinion, of Stefan Molyneux's situation, and my observations, and an opinion of his stances. But you can go check him out yourself. You know, he's got a lot of material, but in one of them he says, you know, icky poo feelings with regard to interracial marriage. And then there's one social issue call-in show where he rakes a guy who imports a wife over the coals. And also there's a chat, I forgot to mention, where he speaks with Theodore Beale, a collector Doctor Who alien lookalike. Doctor Who alien called the Collector, Vox Day Theodore Beale, is a lookalike for that alien. He's speaking with Vox Day, and Stefan also expresses irritation at one human race, so-called race, marrying a person from another race, having children. So, you know, since I have children of that type, I guess we're going to say, fuck you, Stefan Molyneux. Fuck you, Stefan Molyneux, you racist fucker. Okay? Fuck you, Stefan Molyneux. That's my message for you.